but I want to fight for the rights and the freedom of speech. You will never join him. You will never join him. I swear by Allah, you will not.
You could
know
discuss
what?
with him. You could have a chat.
No,
with
one
him.
second. He said, one second. You said Tommy Robinson, I don't support him, but he's speaking about freedom of speech.
I'll give you an example. South Africa.
Do you think it's fair? Hold on. Do you think it's
Can I
fair
make this point?
that Twitter has banned him?
Brother, can I speak?
Oh, go on,
I listen to you. A person who's in ISIS, imagine Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi coming here, and he's saying to him, you know what, I changed my mind. I support them, we killed some people, but
he compares him to Hitler.
One second, he's going to say,
and
I
a guy that's
believe...
killed people. Tommy Robinson hasn't
Can I
killed no one
speak?
yet.
You're right, his foot soldiers do it. So,
No, not really.
Prove it.
Darren Osborne.
Listen.
Hold on, there's
Brother,
You're overrating Tommy
You're
Robinson.
contradicting
Mo
yourself.
Salah
He's getting heated, yeah.
You will
Emotional.
never
He's
join
becoming emotional, yeah. So
I'm
let me talk to the
You
real
will
man in the
never.
equation.
Yeah. You want to get exposed? Let me talk to the real
Let me
man.
talk to the real man.
He's a real man, no problem.
Because he's
No,
at
but
the
listen,
big
how
podcast.
old are you?
Hold on.
Talk to the fake man for 2 more minutes.
He looks younger than him. He looks older than him.
I mean, he's getting emotional.
One
He's getting
second.
emotional.
He's hurting him, that's why.
Can I just
Would
say
you,
something?
would
Do
you,
you
no, no,
think it's
no.
consistent?
Would you go and join
Hold on.
ISIS?
Do you think it's
Would you go and join ISIS for a cause that you believe in?
He's not going to join
Would
ISIS.
you?
Would he go and do charity work in Syria? Yeah. Would he do charity work in Iraq? Yeah. If he met ISIS fighters, he'd
There you
say,
go. He would never join anyone like that. But Tommy Robinson, no problem.
Hamas or Hezbollah?
Let me ask you, you started off
On
by-
Twitter. Because that's the whole point of the whole shoot.
You started off by saying you're a free speech absolute.
Up to the point where you do not cause harm.
He doesn't realize he went to the wrong man. Watch this now.
Okay. Can you come back
Watch this now.
oh, sorry.
I was a mercy to him.
Which
Watch
one's the
this now.
camera? That one.
I would have learned.
That one up there.
I'm not always right. So let
Anyway,
me learn
money
this.
short.
You tell me
I'm
where
not
I'm
going to
wrong.
talk.
No problem. Do you accept that plagiarism laws, defamation laws, are acceptable laws that every civilized society should have?
Yeah. I mean, copyright and plagiarism. Yeah.
Plagiarism can be in the kind of speech or written material, yeah?
Yeah.
Defamation, so for example, if I say that you did something that you didn't do and I defamed your character, in this country you have something called defamation laws, yeah? So that means to say that there is a censorship in almost all civilized societies on what you call free speech.
I don't disagree with you on that.
No, you did, because you're
I said myself, my own personal beliefs. If I had my way, I'd be a free speech absolute. But I'm not running the country.
No, but right.
I don't write the rules.
Right.
So I'm living by the UK's rule. And all I'm saying to you is that the reason I've done the video shoot with Tommy Robinson,
care about this.
hold on, because he's slandering me saying that I'm an extremist. But the reason I did it
Not
was because
extremist.
free speech,
He's very moderate.
impeded.
If you want to meet extremist seats,
He's
he's moderate.
He's
moderate. Why are you?
Brother Sikh, I'm just asking a few questions and I'll
Sorry.
I think this is blocking.
If you look at his turn,
I was going to ask you, because now we have to kind of see if you're consistent.
you'll
with
notice
what
a
you
small
believe.
difference.
Yeah, I'm not always consistent. I have
No
to say
problem,
that.
that's why you have to
I'm
be
a human being, so
Yeah, all of us are.
I make mistakes myself. I'm not perfect.
Yes, I'm sure you
I
are.
know.
Okay, no problem.
And you said something about my educational standard. I got a degree and 3 A
Let's not
levels.
change the topic.
I don't know. You said in the car with Saeed that Tommy Robinson, Steve, and me are not
topic.
very educated.
Stick to
So
topic.
you did. I'll follow it up next week.
I'm going to talk about you.
But you said my name. There you go.
Oh, go ahead.
I know you can say it, but I'm going to refute it.
So you started off by saying you're a
Careful, don't repeat yourself.
free speech absolutist, yeah?
I said
He would like to
I would
be.
like to be.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's
And also-
limits in this country.
Otherwise, it's just going to become.
Yeah.
Number two, how do you feel about, because we always talk about freedom of speech, but we don't talk about freedom of expression. So usually it's the same kind of thing. So would you accept that freedom of expression is also a tenet of any democratic society? Would you also have the same attitude with freedom of expression?
When you say freedom of expression, are you talking about
That which does
you need
not
to
impede,
elaborate.
that which does not contravene someone's physical rights. So at the point where it doesn't harm anyone.
Yeah.
the same way.
Yeah, up to, yeah. I mean, yeah, I am. But I know this
Within limits. Within limits.
And I know it's going to be flaws.
Once again, I'm just asking that because I wanted to know where you stand.
Yeah. I didn't say my belief here is practical or is actually. Look
trouble.
at that. This is what you call friendship now. We're mending bridges.
Make sure you put the janazah on.
He's turned it off, or he's going to turn it backwards.
No, he's Kurdish freedom fighter.
Yeah, I know.
Fighting for your freedom.
So just to understand, you started off by saying you believe in absolute freedom of speech to the point where it doesn't cause harm to others. You believe in absolute freedom of expression to the point where it doesn't.
I said I would want it to be, but I know the law doesn't permit it in this country.
Within limits. You say within limits.
Yeah, within limits.
These are your principles.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about the law. I'm not talking about what the law says. I'm just talking about your moral standard. So your moral standard is that you believe in free speech to the point where it doesn't cause harm. You believe in freedom of expression to the point where it doesn't cause harm. Which is why you justify sitting with Tommy Robinson and these things, yeah?
No, I justify sitting with him because I believe in having discourse with everybody. Even a Nazi, I would sit with.
You don't need to justify.
Because because a lot of people are saying, why do you have to
I don't care.
Next
I want to hear him
Let's go to the next one.
So my points are this. Already we've shown that you're not consistent with that in so much as you still accept that there's a need for plagiarism laws, defamation laws, etc. Which would curtail free speech necessarily, yeah? And would censor people's speech. But also, which is really interesting, Mr. Singh, I didn't see you there when we were asking to pray collectively, because that's freedom of expression.
Oh, I agree Muslims should be allowed to pray.
Oh, now you do.
No, I always have. I've never had one bit of issue with it.
Look into the camera and say it.
I've never had an issue with the praying. You should protest it.
Here's the point I'm asking, right?
The pray is not an
You're
issue.
praying. 1 minute. You're praying.
This is good. If we get him to say that, then it's very nice. Collective prayer.
No issue.
There was a big commotion for the past 2 weeks
Yeah,
about
it's silly.
that. You had ample opportunity and time, just as you did when you went to Tommy Robinson, if you actually have those principles of freedom of expression to the point where it doesn't cause harm. Unless your argument is that actually our prayer causes harm, why don't you come out?
I've said it 100 times. Just because it's not on
Let
video,
him finish.
it doesn't
Let
mean
him
it didn't
finish.
happen.
Hey, wait, let him finish.
I condemn the people that stopped the praying. I think praying.
So you wanted to pray and then
Well, he's not the one that done it.
Do you condemn Tom Robinson?
No, I don't condemn Tommy Robinson.
Why do you want to condemn Tommy Robinson?
Why would I condemn him?
Gora,
I
you live in a
don't
Gora
care
country.
about
Go on and carry on.
I just believe that those who say they believe in an absolute freedom of speech and or expression, they're shooting themselves in the foot majorly. Because almost there are many laws in both institutions and inscribed into the law which prohibit that kind of thing. For example, freedom of expression, we know for example like child pornography is not allowed. Okay, child pornography is not so you can argue is harm the child. But also indecent images of children of a certain age is not allowed. But then there's less of a case for harm, but more of a case for censorship. So I can continually make more and more.
Yeah, the free speech.
Absolutely.
What's the
It's not.
question?
It is flawed.
The point
It is flawed.
actually-
Very flawed.
also in this country, we do have laws against, like, for example, racism. So you can't say certain things against certain
Mohammed.
people, certain races.
Oh, so it's Mo.
If we believe in an absolute freedom
Mo
of expression,
Salah.
then that may necessitate some business owners expressing themselves in whatever which way by allowing only certain people to work. That goes against the Equality Act and equality and other principles of egalitarian. So the point I'm making to you is, the thing is, we think that these words, which are really become like the slogans for the Western world, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, democracy, liberalism, all these things, we have the assumption that they're all working in contradistinction. They're not working in contradistinction. There is serious contradictions and inconsistencies, as well as disadvantages that is associated with almost every one of those slogans that you're trying to pioneer. So the point is, when people say freedom of speech, and now it's funny because now the fascists are using this term, freedom of speech and freedom of expression, to what extent can freedom of speech and expression be, instantiated in the context of, in the context of also a legal framework, and a framework which claims to be a pluralistic one and a capitalistic framework. These things don't work in contradistinction. There are points of contradiction between things like freedom of expression, freedom of speech, democracy, capitalism. They don't work in contradistinction. So if you've decided now to put on the garb of the Western man and put on Enlightenment ideas on, because maybe you've been influenced in that way, then you're not going to have a coherent policy each time. What's going to end up happening is, and what is happening is, we see the far right using these tools and these political or philosophical ideas to their advantage. But freedom of expression, people like, for example, Alexis de Tocqueville, who is one of the pioneers of democracy. He wrote Democracy in America. I can't remember the name of his book, but he wrote extensively on democracy, and he talked about extensively the tyranny of the majority. How comes we don't find, and so did J.S. Mill, by the way, in his On Liberty. Well, how comes we don't find people like Tommy Robinson talking about those parts of democracy those parts of pluralism, those parts, that right-wing narrative, they don't talk about those parts of democracy which the initial kind of philosophical heads talked about, which advantage minorities.
Can I just
what that does for me, like
For me, it's really simple.
just to finish off.
The people in charge will always make the rules and change the rules
You're right.
accordingly.
Just to finish off though, Raj, I feel like as a minority, who's probably, and you yourself, you're against the National Front, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
So as minorities, what we have to do is we have to kind of, I'm not going to say we unite ideologically, but we can unite on this cause. What we don't want to see is people that have probably felt the same pain of discrimination from the 60s or 70s onwards when you guys started to immigrate into this country, or your forefathers started. Now you're coming and turning, making a U-turn 180 degrees.
No, I'm not.
Backstabbing the same minority group that you're a part of. Hoping to.
You don't know the.
No.
Can I elaborate? I don't want to go too much.
Let the real man talk. Let him answer.
I don't want to go too much into what. I don't want to go too much into what Tommy
Raj,
Robinson and me
answer.
said. One of the things I did say to him that, and I said to him, I said, the people that you're hanging around with, some of them are very extreme. Generation Identity, BNP, Britain First. I find them to be racist, but I don't find Tommy Robinson to be racist. He may be in extreme in his views in terms of some of Islam, because he does go mad. Every time somebody said to me last time on Twitter, I don't look at Twitter, that all he does is Islam, Islam, Islam. So I did check it. It is pretty crazy. It is Islam, 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 Islam.
Well, like Hitler did.
All negativity.
Jews,
So he has faults in himself, but I don't believe that he's a type of person that we should totally ignore. He's not a Nazi. Now, if they were Nazis, I'd say, I'd still speak to them, but we disregard them.
Raj, what I'm saying to you.
So Raj, to add to that, so Tommy Robinson is a symptom of a problem of what happened in Luton. Yeah? Tommy Robinson, listen to me.
Also, his wife was in a relationship.
So I went around, I've been around England.
No, it's true.
We'll discuss that later.
It's very vital.
What's more important to discuss is this. Yeah, look, you've got real dangerous elitists, real racists who you don't get to see. So, for example, when you go for a job, the fact that you give your name in as an ethnic name means you're already 50% cancelled. Yeah? When they see you and your colour, cancelled then. Real racism.
And when you're a Muslim, it's cancelled more.
Again, more.
Yes.
So these are real issues. See, for me, life is about what is a real issue. Real issue is child poverty. Why in 2018 are there poor Muslim kids, black kids, Asian kids? There shouldn't be no poor kids. In England, 2018, in charge of the Commonwealth, there should not be poor children in England, especially not in London, where you've got 25 million pound flats, you've got Arabs doing wheel spins in Ferraris and getting the cars lifted and saying, I've got another 2. There shouldn't be any poor kids starving. See me, first thing I'd do is I'd say to some of them Arab kids, could you give us some of your Ferraris so we can sell them and use that for poor children?
I get your point. But
So for me, it's about rich versus poor. See,
the point
labels, you have to look at who's making the labels.
Mr. Singh.
Yeah, mostly. I don't know if you hang around in Leicester Square and that. It's mostly Arab plates, Dubai plates.
But what about
Mr. Singh? What I'm trying to forge with you and Raj, you're welcome to this, yeah? Because what I'm saying is, look, as minorities, we have to look out for each other. We actually do, Because the thing is, if you look at England is more homogenous than people think. London isn't, but England, the UK is. Look at the amount of minorities that exist in the UK. There's not that many comparative to the white majority. It's not as multicultural a place as you think it is. If you look at the census data, it's not. London is quite multicultural. Birmingham is very multicultural.
All the cities are multicultural. So you've got London,
areas
Birmingham, all the cities are. But the countryside and the coast is not.
What I'm saying to you, Raj, and this is my request, or even my advice, if you like. I would just say to you, look, me and you are different religions, for example. We come from different parts of the world, but one thing that actually makes us quite similar, or makes all of us quite similar here, is the fact that we are all generationally, that we all come from different generations of immigrants, So our parents have come as immigrants, second or third generation or whatever. You have to understand something here. You don't know how politics is going to... We don't know the political direction of certain things. We don't know what they're going to decide to do.
I do my research.
No, in the future, right?
Even in the future, listen. You've got to understand, rich people have always suppressed poor people. That's the history of the world.
Okay.
First, rich people used armies, but armies cost a lot of money. Armies, you have to feed them. So army was replaced by religion. Then religion was used to manipulate poor people. After religion, money was used to manipulate poor people. Now technology is being used to manipulate poor people. It's always been a battle, rich versus poor. If you go to Saudi Arabia and you go and speak to all the rich Arabs, they're not religious. You know that and I know that. Well, I'm just saying, if you go to the Vatican, you go to the Vatican in Rome, and you sit and chill with some of them boys,
Mr.
they're
Singh,
not religious.
What I wanted to put to you guys is as follows, right? That we need to now think of getting along.
No, we do. We do.
No, hold on, but let me tell you what we mean
I'll
by
give you an
this.
example. You're Mo.
Yeah.
Nice name. Where do you come from? You're Londoner, yeah? Right, whereabouts in London?
Near the area.
Where?
What you want me to tell the
No,
people?
like
I've got a lot of enemies,
Edgware
brother.
Road. No,
I'll tell you later, man. I'll tell you later.
No, which area? West
know not to say
London.
on
Wait,
addresses
West
online.
London, East London, North
I'll tell you
London.
later.
No, West London.
Let's say like northwest London.
Right, North West London.
Yeah.
So I was in Grenfell Tower for 6 months. That's your local manor. So I was in Grenfell Tower for 6 months. So why was I there every day? I've got other things to do. Because London was in trouble. The people we expected to help those families in Grenfell Tower, they stayed away. So the Red Cross, Salvation Army, a lot of charities.
Guess what I'm trying to say to you guys is,
Yeah.
look, let's not make this a matter of, okay, like Raj and others, and we get the feeling now, not the Sikh community. I reckon the Sikh, because look, you've got to be careful.
I don't speak for the Sikh
No, I
community.
know you don't, but you're
I'm a lone wolf.
Hold on.
No,
I'm a lone
you
wolf.
speak for yourself.
I speak
you
for
do,
myself.
but
Yeah.
here's
I'm
what
a
here's
lone
what-
wolf always have been.
Here's what I see, right?
Yeah, go on.
I don't see a friction necessarily between the Sikh and the Muslim community
there
in
isn't.
this country. There might have been one historically in India, okay, that's a different
Minor,
story.
it's a very small one.
But there isn't one here.
Yes, right.
So what I want to say is that we want to continue the good relationship between the Muslims and the Sikhs.
Yeah.
What you're doing, I fear, might jeopardize that, in my opinion.
Right,
Because
all right.
let me
No.
hold
Do
on,
you
Raj.
think Tommy Robinson's that good?
Just a second. Now listen, hold on.
Tommy
got that much-
Robinson
let me just-
is a little pebble. The Tory party,
look,
you know
look,
the Tory party, rich conservatives,
Look.
the government.
In my country, they say the little stone you belittle will crack somebody's head.
Yeah?
So you need to be careful with the little stones and another
Listen,
stone that
listen,
might
listen
join.
to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Listen to what I'm saying, please.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying to you kindly. Yeah? I'm not saying this to you like you can decide to do whatever you want. But what I'm saying to you here is this: this is a good opportunity for us here at Speakers Club. A lot of thousands of people watch our videos. To do community bridge, to build community bridges, of understanding. Now we might have a discussion, for example, on Sikhism, on Islam, on these things, but at the end of it, we're all on the same kind of track.
No, we're human beings at the end of it.
Yeah, but
Human
what I'm
beings.
saying is that if you yourself, you got to be. Everyone here is responsible for
Yeah,
their
of
own
course,
actions,
I know
right?
I'm
Yeah.
So
responsible.
what I'm saying here is,
And it took me a long time to decide on doing that decision.
Raj, listen, I understand what you're under.
I didn't just turn up willy-nilly.
I understand.
Anyway, look,
But-
Raj,
Do a video with Abdul Hakim.
Guys,
I do.
Go do a video. Do a video.
anybody you want.
Can I say something? Can I say something? Can I say something?
Anybody you want.
I know what you're saying. So if
We're
you,
saying that
can I say?
we want to build a bridge. We don't want to make this into like. We don't want to make
never do a
everything
video.
happen.
I'll
Alright,
do
we
a
don't want
video.
to. So what I'm saying is, if in order for that to happen,
Yeah.
for instance, you've got to be sensitive of certain things.
Yeah, I know.
Let me just finish this sentence, please. I beg you. Yeah? You understand that the Muslim community are very much averse to certain ultra-right people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I might know that seriously, like the Jewish community might be completely averse to certain characters that might be anti-Semitic, yeah? I might know, you might inform me that, look, there's someone that the Sikh community, this person's being, in the Sikh people's opinion, obnoxious to us, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, I could decide, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to photograph of him, I'm going to speak to him, I'm going to whatever. Or I could decide, you know what, because I do care about Sikh neighbours, I do care about them, and I know, but by the way, this has to be said, the Sikhs have done a lot of good in this country, yeah? In terms of, especially in terms of like charity and stuff like that, they're quite underrated in that regard, yeah?
Turn the camera to him.
What I'm saying to you, Raj, seriously,
He's a good
they
example.
open up the temples for food and drink and homeless people, and the work that they do is really good, yeah? Now, what I don't want to happen is for someone like yourself to undermine the good work of many Sikhs.
No, but he won't.
You know,
He
Hold
won't.
on.
You understand?
Listen,
So that's what I'm saying.
He won't. He won't do that.
Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Right, just repent and come back.
Hold on.
Because-
Mohammed, you need to let me
Your
talk.
turn,
You need to let me
his
talk
turn,
here.
his
And don't
turn now.
disturb me for a couple of minutes.
Yes, go ahead.
When I first come here, I admit I was so extreme that I hated everybody. Yeah, my relative was groomed here, so I had a lot of hate in my heart. So let me just talk. I didn't like Muslims, I didn't like anyone. They like coming and I've learnt so much in 6 months. I like Salafis, I like Shamsi, I want to go to a mosque, I want to do this, I want to do that. So I have moved my position. A lot of people call me a snake, but I'm not a snake. I learn,
Okay,
I
fine.
learn, and then I adjust my behaviour, and I start saying, oh, not all Muslims, not this. So people think I'm extreme now, but I'm way into the middle now. So if you met me 8 months ago, if you met me 8 months
very
ago,
moderate. He's
now
moderate.
I'm in the middle. But I still believe, I still believe that in terms of Tommy Robinson, he's a misunderstood guy who's angry like I was, and the only way to stop anger is to speak.
That's right.
And so when I come here, and I
So
spoke
Tommy
to so many
Robinson has
people,
changed a lot
The dialogue,
from where he started to where he is now.
I've seen that as
the
well.
work he
I've
did
seen that
at
as
the
well.
William Foundation.
I have to say
I've seen
something.
that.
When he went on TV, I listened to what he had to say, and I thought
They paid him to do that. Did you know that? He admitted that he was going into prison and he couldn't pay for his mortgage, so he had an agreement.
You know the work.
with
Quilliam
Majid Nawaz.
Foundation.
Majid Nawaz was going to pay for his wife's fees while he's in prison.
Listen,
to claim that
the
he did
work,
radicalise
let me tell
Tommy
you,
Robinson.
brother, the work that was done in the last 3 years by Quilliam Foundation and other organisations of intellectuals meant that the extremes of Islamic extreme youth and right extreme both got shut up.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you
Because
something?
what you found was,
In my opinion,
that
that's
we
not
can
correct,
have,
innit?
we can have
This is
intellectual
it.
discussions.
Yeah.
What we can't do is hate. Hatred is the failure of life. Listen, war is the failure of mankind. Hatred is the failure of your life. If you hate people, you're lost.
Hatred is what?
Hatred is the failure of life. It's a misunderstanding.
Have you said hatred?
Yeah, I know. I've got a lot of hate in my
Good
heart.
example. Happiness.
So I know-
So Mo's a happy bloke. He's a happy bloke. You're a happy bloke. That means you understand life. You have a certain education and conditioning. So I would say you have like a British education and conditioning.
Tell me about British.
Right? No, I'm just saying.
I've
so
got both,
you
by the
have.
way. I've
I
got
personally
some
think
Arabic stuff
that,
as well.
that you've got someone. See me. I went around the world. Asked the Native Americans what happened to them. Asked the Aboriginals what happened to them, and I relearnt world history. So that everything they taught me in school was actually lies. Yeah?
What might happen to
All
the
this
Muslims?
cowboys and Indian stuff is all Hollywood bakwas.
And
Yeah?
what might happen to the Muslims?
The real history of the
If
world,
people still support
is
Tommy
about
you look like
minorities being oppressed and empires and colonialism. You know what the French did? What you should be teaching him is about what the French did in Africa and North and the Middle East. That's what you want to learn.
You need to
But can I say
educate
something
them.
that?
You need to educate
Can I say something that's something my heart?
So
Hold on.
listen, so for me now,
Raj
England,
say
listen, I am so grateful to the universe to be born in London.
So,
I'm
Raj,
a Londoner.
what do you
I
want?
grew
Can I-
up with mixed people, yeah?
Sorry, I apologise.
The university everywhere. I grew up with mixed people, and whenever I'd meet one group of people who are a bit extreme in their views, I'd also meet the counter-narrative people.
talking about-
So I met a lot of good Muslims. I've got a lot of good Muslim friends who
Yeah.
actually do their prayer,
Yeah.
who are actually intelligent,
Yeah.
who actually, all I can say is they're angels. Yeah, because they do their prayers, they're very balanced, they can discuss anything with anyone, and you know what? They're good mates, they're good fun.
Well, Mr. Singh,